All right, come on, guys, come on in. Good to see you again. Thanks for joining me for lunch. I am great. Good to see you.
I brought this for you.
Good afternoon. My name is James K. Holder II. Some of you may know me as Sir James II. I'd like to welcome you back to The Counter. This is our forum to discuss issues around food access that might provide challenges for our families to eat healthy and affordable meals on a daily basis. We know we're rounding the end of summer, and so there's nothing better than a roast chicken. I love this recipe. It is one of the things that I cook most frequently, and so without further ado, we're just gonna go ahead and get started. Yesterday, I had a friend join me on my way to the farmer's market. That's where I like to get my chicken, and so we're just gonna set this out and begin working on this item. So I'm going to start, of course, with clean hands, and I'm just going to cover both sides with a little bit of toasted sesame oil. I'm going to massage this in. As always, when you're dealing with chicken, you want to make sure that you are washing your hands thoroughly. Chicken contains salmonella. It can lead to other diseases and food-borne illness, so that is something we absolutely want to avoid. So that is the #1 key when you're working with chicken. Now, the first thing I want to do is try to get my seasonings ready for this chicken. And it's going to be pretty simple. Lemon pepper is just one of my favorite ingredients, especially for chicken, fish, white meat. It's really delicious on that. So it's always a good go-to base for your food. We're doing a whole chicken today. Yesterday, my friend Josh joined me, my friend and neighbor, joined me on our trip to the farmer's market. And so he's going to actually join me for lunch this afternoon, and we are making a beautiful roasted chicken. Next thing I want to do is add my cayenne pepper. Now, to balance that out, I like to use my nutmeg. I can just grate a little bit in here. I love black pepper. I love to see it, and I enjoy having it in all of my meals. So you can add a touch more black pepper. And then lastly, and this is with all my spice blends, I put my salt in at the tail end. Like, that's the last thing I add. And actually, what I'm going to do with this particular preparation is I'm just going to put the salt on separately. And I'm going to season both sides very liberally with my spice blend. I'm going to take this opportunity to use my hands and really get in here and massage this flavor in here. So again, with chicken, you want to be careful. I want to make sure I'm getting under the wing. Really give it a good rub. Massage that flavor in there. And you see, again, that cayenne is going to be a little spicy, but it adds that beautiful color, and it helps you see where you're putting your seasoning on your chicken. And we want this to sit for about an hour. Now, earlier, we started on our chicken stock. Yesterday, like I said, my friend Josh and I went to the farmer's market, and that's where I like to source my chicken. I always buy whole chicken and cut it into individual pieces, and that way I know I'm getting the best value. I'm also getting the freshest chicken, and I'm getting all of the parts that I can use in any preparation that I choose. Yesterday, I boiled this, put all the ingredients in with onion, celery, fennel, garlic, fresh black pepper, and also the chicken neck and the chicken back and sort of the innards that come in that package of the chicken. Like, some people don't want to deal with that, but it's a really great resource for flavor in your broth. As you can see, there's a layer of fat that's formed at the top, and we're just going to sort of ladle that extra fat off because we don't want that in our broth. This whole pot, the stock pot, was full to the top, and that is reduced down to about half. And what we want to do at this point is just kind of take out any of the ingredients that we used to make the stock, and then we want to strain this and kind of get it into a pure form so that we can use it for like a number of different ingredients. I mean, a number of different dishes. Now, making your own stock is one of the easiest things you can do, and it's one of the best ways to save money in your kitchen. Chicken stock that you buy in the store contains tons of sodium, it contains tons of preservatives, and really, they don't taste very good. And so when you make your own, it's your opportunity to put your own signature and your stamp on the food that you're making for your family. The first tip is that when you're using the oven to roast something, the heating element is at the bottom of the oven. So one tip I like to use is to make sure that your rack is placed at the lowest possible setting when you roast something. We're going to use this to preheat our pan there. And while that's preheating, there are going to be a few aromatic ingredients that I use to enhance the flavor of our chicken. So I'm going to start those now. I'm going to start with some lemon, a bit of rosemary, a bit of thyme, and of course, it would not be roast chicken without garlic. So we definitely want that represented. Take our knife. And for the first side, I just kind of want to get some nice wedges to put under our chicken. I'm also going to halve a lemon and that's just a little bit for later. And with this garlic, I just kind of want to cut this in half, and we're going to use this as another flavor component for our chicken. So take our hot pan, we're going to put it right on top of the stove here. I want to drizzle that with a bit of extra virgin olive oil, just to get the flavors going, just to get that started. Dip, flip. And I want to create a little bed for our chicken. So the garlic's not necessarily going to be under that bed. Anything that you put in the broiler or under the roaster in the oven, you just want to coat it with a little bit of oil. So that's why I'm kind of dipping it in the oil that's on the pan. Make sure that it's going to get a nice browning and that heat's going to really get in there. And what I want to do is just, again, with this little bed that we're making, I'm going to elevate a little bit, put a little bit of rosemary and a little bit of thyme. These have both been rinsed. You don't want to put too much here, but this is just to get the nice aroma building in here. There's a little bit of oil here. We are going to place this chicken. In fact, I'm just going to use my hands because it's easier. My hands right on here. Place this chicken right on here. You don't want to crowd the pan. You definitely want to give space for this. You want to be in the habit of washing your hands. You want to be in the habit of turning your faucet on with the back of your hand. You want to be in the habit of pressing your soap dispenser with the back of your hand so that you're not getting any contagions on any of your other kitchen utensils or apparatus. We're going to drizzle this with a bit of extra virgin olive oil. Again, you just want to coat this, make sure that you are covering the whole bird evenly. And that's that. It's 425 degrees. We're going to put this in our oven at the lowest rack for about 35 minutes. That will be an appropriate time to cook this whole bird, get the crispy skin that we want. Now that our chicken is in the oven, the next thing I want to work on is our vegetables. And so for today, I've already kind of pulled aside some carrots, and these are what I'm going to use in our accompaniment to today's dish. In addition to that, I have some Brussels sprouts, beautiful Brussels sprouts that I found at the farmer's market, but also some tomatoes. Now the tomatoes were really inexpensive. The Brussels sprouts were a little bit pricey. And so I'm kind of just gonna fill my plate with a bounty of ingredients that sort of balance out my budget a bit. So I'm gonna use both to add color, add flavor, and also make sure that we are providing a good full meal. And there's a particular way I'm gonna treat these ingredients, but they're all gonna go right into the same oven. I'm not gonna cut these are whole carrots. They're sort of the rainbow variety. These are a little bit more expensive, but I love how they come out. They really do add a nice bit of flavor and color to what we're cooking. we are just gonna very, very simply add a little bit of extra virgin olive oil, salt, of course, some cracked black pepper. I like to throw in just a very little bit of nutmeg with this. Just to give it some nice earthy flavor. My friend Josh should be here in any minute. And then the last thing I'm gonna add to that is a bit of garlic powder. Now, garlic powder is one of those things that I prefer fresh garlic, but when it comes to roasting ingredients, sometimes you wanna just add a bit of, a powdered ingredient because that way we know it's not gonna burn. Let's set these right here. Oh, my friend Josh is here. Come on in, door's open. What's going on, man? Good to see you. Thanks for joining me for dinner. My hands are a little messy, but the little Michelle Barack Obama fist bump. Let's have a seat at the counter, which is the name of this show. So what we're having is roasted chicken, and that started in the oven. That'll be ready in exactly 23 minutes. And I'm gonna do two other things while the chicken is resting. I'm basically gonna make roasted kale, roasted carrots, onions, tomatoes, and Brussels sprouts. And it's all gonna be on one plate. Wow. The next thing I wanna do is treat our red onion. And I know red onion has like a reputation of being like really like sort of strong and assertive, but it is very delicious. And once you roast it, you're getting a lot of good nuanced flavor out of it, and it just adds a little bit of body to your plate. This particular dinner, we're not gonna really have like a starch, I think that's one thing people sort of get into the habit of, oh, we gotta have potatoes, we gotta have rice or something. And I just feel like we have to get maybe past that. Maybe you just serve what's fresh, what you're inspired by, what you have in your pantry that might be, on its way out. And I want to bring it to like thirds, just really big wedges. These are gonna roast in the oven. The chicken's gonna be about 35 minutes, maybe 40 minutes, depending on, the size of the bird. If it's a bigger chicken, you definitely wanna be checking to make sure that it's cooked all the way through. The vegetables usually take about 30 minutes, maybe a little bit less. I have these thinner carrots that have beautiful little stems on them, but then I also had some other rainbow carrots that were in the refrigerator. I used some of those in my stock earlier. And so I'm just gonna blend both just to kind of give a nice variety and textural variety on the plate, but I wanna start these slightly later than when I put these into the oven. So we're just gonna, again, take these beautiful tomatoes, we're gonna just cut them in half. They're all different colors, sizes. I probably focus on tomatoes as a dish or as a component of dishes more than most. I just really like them. I think they're beautiful. I think they're juicy, and they add just a lot of flavor and texture without adding a lot of cost to your overall dish. I'm gonna put this plate of vegetables right into the same oven, side by side with my chicken on that lowest rack. Now, when you're using your oven to roast or broil or anything, you don't want to be in the habit of opening and closing your door, because then you're losing like a ton of heat. That's not good for anything. The key to consistent cooking, whether it's vegetables or meat, is to, one, start with room temperature products. So like a lot of times if I season something or if I'm treating something, I might have it in the refrigerator, but I always try to take it out just a little bit before to make sure that it's acclimating to room temperature and it's gonna hold my seasoning properly. And then once I put it into the oven or the pot, if I'm frying it or whatever, I'm not shocking that cooking source, to reduce the heat, because you wanna keep that heat consistent. And that's how you make sure you have done food according to your times. So I want to treat quickly my Brussels sprouts. And so these are going to go actually under the broiler. These have been pre-rinsed. Don't trust your sort of grocery store when they say that they pre-wash their ingredients, especially like leafy greens. make sure you wash your own ingredients very, very thoroughly. I'm just taking the larger Brussels sprouts and I'm cutting them in half. Some of the smaller ones can remain whole. I'm just gonna cut right here. You know, some people like these little branchy stem things. I don't wanna eat those, not Bugs Bunny. I'll take these, and now with a hot oven, again, you don't wanna be opening and closing this, but we're gonna do this pretty quickly. Put those right on top there. Delicious kale at the grocery store. Rinsed it very thoroughly in the sink. And what I want to do with this now is just simply, I want to cut it into larger pieces and I want to take it off of the stem. All we want to do is take our knife and cut it right off of this stem. And you can use scissors. In fact, that's exactly what I'm going to use. I'm just going to use our shears, trusty shears here. Cut these right off. It doesn't really matter if they fall apart. You don't need the whole thing. So tell me a little bit about, you know, your experience at Buford Market. You got a little lost there.
Oh man, it was great. I didn't realize how much stuff was in Buford Market. And you've got everything. You've got fresh stuff, greens, and then all of the seafood, fresh seafood, and then of course poultry, and then everything between. I had no idea. It was kind of overwhelming the first time. So I've got to go back and kind of tackle it piece by piece.
Right. The kale's gonna go in the oven at about 275 for about 10 minutes. The Brussels sprouts are gonna go under the broiler, the high broiler, for about also 10 minutes. And again, we're making a whole chicken, but it was cut in half. So if you're making a whole chicken that's together at that temperature and placement in the oven, it'll probably take about 45 minutes. If you take the time to cut that chicken in half and then do the same amount of chicken, instead of doing it whole, you'll probably cut your cooking time down to about 35 minutes. If you then are now just cooking parts of the chicken, so like just chicken breast or just chicken thigh and leg, you're talking about more like 25 minutes. We're gonna take our chicken out of the oven really quickly. Nice browning on the skin. Definitely gonna be some tender, juicy meat in there. You see we've got some nice caramelization on our lemon and also on our garlic. So we're gonna let that cool. And when we're cooling our chicken, what we wanna do, create a little bit of a tent for this item with aluminum foil. Then you don't necessarily want it on touching the chicken per se, but you just kind of want it up a bit like that. And that'll help that chicken come down to temperature and everything, all the flavors sort of come together and settle. So our carrots and onions are ready. And so are our tomatoes. So we're gonna take these out of the oven. Now our kale is going to go on a lower temperature. I'm gonna drop the temperature down to 275. And so what I wanna do is get this kale out to a thin layer on my cast iron pan. You ever tasted kale like just when it was just like raw or dressed? I mean, well, you had it ground up.
That's the thing. I like cooked kale. I typically don't cook kale. Most of the kale that I eat is raw.
So that's like sort of a dressed, marinated kale. It's not cooked at all.
Yeah. That's all. Wait.
See, I mean,
I never season my kale. I always just eat it straight. That tastes amazing.
Straight, no chaser. So we're gonna put this down to the bottom rack again, just like we did with our chicken and our other vegetables. Hope that all fits. A lot of times when I put things into the broiler, there's a certain way I do it, and I like to have a hot pan to start. Brussels sprouts are well coated with extra virgin olive oil and also salt and pepper. With this, I know Josh isn't huge on the spicy, but I do like to add a little bit of my crushed chili flakes to this.
I eat a lot more spicy food now.
Oh no, yeah.
Flavor.
You know, man. So again, we're just gonna start our hot pan. We're gonna put some extra virgin olive oil in there. We're going to start these cooking here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take our kale out of the oven. It is about ready. You can smell it. I'm gonna quickly switch from the oven to the broiler and put that on high. It's gonna take about 2 minutes to get that broiler temperature to where I want it. Hot pan right under the broiler. And when you use the broiler, you want to monitor it, right? So like I'm gonna keep checking that. I'm gonna put it in there for 5 minutes. I'm gonna check it. It might take a total of 10 minutes to get the Brussels sprouts to where I want them. I'm looking for a little bit of a char. I'm looking for a little bit of sort of caramelization on the Brussels sprouts, and I still want them to be crispy. I want them to be like when you bite them, I almost want them to taste like they were raw, but they will be cooked through. Okay. In our downtime, I'm gonna taste a couple of the other ingredients. Taste one of these carrots, make sure it's nice tender carrot, very well seasoned, very, very good. And the good thing about like thin carrots like this, or even the rainbow carrots, even thick carrots, you don't have to peel them. If you're gonna roast them for that 30, 35 minutes, leave them whole with the skin on, and it comes out so good. And I want to take some large leaves and dress them around. You remember back in the 80s, you used to see like a plate of just sort of like rabbit food, and it'd be like, it was like the dumbest thing. I was like, I'm not eating this. That was kale. It just wasn't cooked. It wasn't dressed. It wasn't, nothing was done to it. So I don't know why it was on our plates, but this is cooked. This is edible, delicious, and delectable, and it is going to add a nice, beautiful greenness, and really just serve as a good base for our dinner here. So I'm gonna put these right off to one side, and our chicken is cooled down quite nicely. Again, I'm very happy about this. Nice, beautiful. That look good, Josh? All right now. Say it loud. We're just going to move that right over and just place that right in the center of this beautiful platter. And I'm going to bring in our Brussels sprouts. So just put them here, preferably the cut side up so that I can show that there's like a color texture variation. I'm gonna alternately put some of these tomatoes in as well, along with the Brussels sprouts. And we had our whole roasted garlic, and I'm just gonna put that again right off to the sides. What do you think about that?
Look at that, amazing. That's like whew. I'm pretty excited.
All right, there you go. There you go. Let me know what you think.
Let's start with vegetables or meat?
Start with whatever you want to start with. Maybe try a Brussels sprout, yeah.
That's really good, and it's still crunchy.
Yeah, that's
Like my biggest thing was soggy vegetables, but it's very crunchy. And I'm actually curious about the kale. And that's crisp.
nice. All right, now try the chicken. That's the piece de resistance. You can cut a little small piece. You gotta, okay. Start small, fine.
That's good too. It's very well seasoned. And it's spicy. I like that.
Nice, good. Glad you're enjoying. So Josh, what do you think about your first trip to Beaufort Farmers Market?
That's pretty dope. They got a little bit of everything.
Keep going.
And it's fresh.
Nice whole chicken. two halved chickens. You have where you can offer someone an entire, breast, wing, thigh, and leg all combined. I have the option, I could just sort of crack this, keep it together, and this is sort of one way to have your chicken. Doing it on the grill, you can sort of mallet it out and make sure that little joint, you have to find it with your knife, but it's the only one, it's very visible, cut right through it. This whole portion together. I want the breast and the wing together, and that makes for a really, really elegant presentation. Same thing with the leg quarters. Now, so right now I have my breasts and my legs separate. I could leave it there. Joint there. Utility knife as opposed to my sentoku. I could use a paring knife here. My whole wing. My wing. So then your wing has a nice little handle if you go to grill it or roast it. Because this is what you're paying for when you buy chicken at the store. If you're buying each individual part, you're paying way more for your bird. So knowing how to dissect it, knowing how to get it into individual pieces is a really good skill and strategy to save money on your food budget. All we really want to do is take the bone out, take the skin off. Now, this is one of those products that you are paying so much more per pound to enjoy at the convenience of having your butcher do it for you or having it pre-processed and done in your store. Come back, clean that up. Take that to the side. You'll find there's a chicken tender. So there's a tenderloin within the breast portion. There's this other sort of flap. And that didn't cost you a dime more than buying it at the store. If you want to throw this in with your stock, you can. Thank you all so much for joining me on The Counter TV. This has been a passion of mine for quite some time, and I'm very grateful to be able to bring this to you on YouTube. Of course, I wouldn't be able to do so without so much of your support, and I want to thank specifically our producer level sponsors. These are everyone who has donated at least $100 to paypal.me/JKH2 or via the Amazon wish list. I ask you to continue to support. If you'd like to become a producer level sponsor and be recognized in the credits, please make a donation of at least $100 to paypal.me/JKH2. And of course, a donation in any amount is appreciated and used towards the show or my other show, Not On My Watch TV. So make sure you check that out as well. Thank you so much. Look forward to seeing you again very soon.